What's up gamers, in today's video we're going to be talking about the dendro archon Nahida. She's having a rerun in version 4.4 and a lot of people might want to know if she's replaceable and if she's still a must pull character. So since I hate long intros and I know you probably do too, let's get straight into the video. So first of all, don't let Nahida's size and face fool you because she's super good at her role and what she does. She's so good at it that people thought that she needed to do more. Instead of just being a dendro support, you can transform her into a really strong on-field DPS, especially because she's a catalyst, which means she has dendro infused normal attacks. And as we all know, dendro is just an overpowered element. Her elemental skill is like a camera. She takes a picture of the enemies and reads the minds of humans. It applies a long-lasting dendro effect and links all the enemies to each other, making them hold hands, something you would never experience.
Okay.
But it's also a sniper, because if you have Raiden, you can use her E and snipe brainless hilly trolls from afar, and there is nothing they can do about it. Another reason out of the 3,000 other reasons as to why her E is a really good ability is because she can apply all this dendro from off-field, and it has AoE, and it looks cool, and it lasts longer than its cooldown, and it does good damage. She literally makes all the other dendro support characters bow down to her. Her skill will also proc dendro damage every time you do a reaction, which generates energy and also reapplies dendro. Now her elemental burst provides buffs for the team, specifically elemental mastery. It gives them elemental mastery based on 25% of the character with the highest elemental mastery in the team. And since you're going to want to be building your Nahida mainly with elemental mastery, she's probably going to have the highest EM. The max amount of EM you can get from her burst is a whopping 250, which is super helpful for a lot of characters and a lot of teams. It also puts you in what looks like a birdcage. Xian Yun would definitely like to be in Nahida's burst. Get it? Because Nahida's burst looks like a birdcage and Xian Yun is a bird. Her passive, Awakening her second passive basically gives her a damage increase to her E based on how much elemental mastery she has. It also increases her crit rate. The damage increase can max at 80% and the crit rate increase can max at 24%. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to stack EM. Now time to look at all the other dendro support characters that come close to Nahida. Okay, let me be serious for a few seconds. If you don't have Nahida due to Primogem issues or Chi-Chi issues, you can use Kale or Dendro MC. They can still work fine, but they're definitely not close to Nahida in terms of overall performance. She's an overall win and has zero drawbacks, whilst with Kale, she's Kale, and with Dendro MC, you have to stay in his burst circle as well as not have a pyro character because you will lose out on his Dendro application if his burst is hit with pyro. Yao Yao is a really good Dendro character as she's a healer and can be used in certain teams really well. So again, if you don't have Nahida, there's still some alternative options, although she's definitely one of the best characters in the game, if not the best. She's alongside the likes of Kazuha, Furina, Yellen, and Raiden. Yes, Raiden, you heard me. I'm definitely not saying that just because I'm a massive Raiden simp on an unhealthy amount of hopium. Nahida can also be in a lot of different teams, like this team, and this team, and this, and this, and this. She can literally be in every single dendro team you can think of, but these are just dendro related teams, and you can definitely beat Genshin's hardest content with other teams. Dendro is definitely still meta, but it's not as meta defining as it was before. What I mean by this is that before Fontaine, a lot of the best teams were heavily reliant on Dendro. But now that Fontaine was introduced, characters like Neuvillette, Furina, Lenny, and Risley have proven not to only work with Dendro. Even Navia has really good team comps that help her do an insane amount of damage, and it just shows that we aren't really leaning into the Dendro side of things as much as we were before. An additional bonus is Arlecchino. She isn't even out yet, but I don't think she will need Dendro. Fontaine has clearly brought back these amazing team options. But still, if you're a new player, Nahida is a really good option and I would 300% recommend pulling for her. Okay, now with all that out of the way, let's get into her pull value. Nahida's pull value very highly depends on how you like to play Genshin, because we have a lot of really good characters to pull for. The Archons are a really good example because they all have different pulling values. Raiden might come as a high value character for you if you like her on-field burst DPS playstyle, her Hyper Bloom playstyle, or if you just like looking at her. Zhongli can come as a high value character for you if you want to be protected at all times, because protection is key. Venti can come as a high value character if you like to suck up the enemies with his black hole. Furina can come as a high value character if you like her sub DPS and buffer role. They all have different pull values depending on the player. If you're not planning on running any dendro teams, then you probably won't use Nahida. But if you are, she's definitely really good. Not to mention, dendro teams are super strong and clear content very easily. I also want to very briefly talk about her second constellation. it's broken. Oh yeah, since you got this far into the video, why not help me out by liking, subscribing, and joining my Discord down below. I'm a small content creator hoping to get big one day, and you can help me out by effortlessly clicking the subscribe button. Also, if you're a new player that needs some help or advice on how to build a certain character or team building for the Spiral Abyss, I and a few other people would be glad to help you. But we can only help if you join my Discord, so why not join? Anyway, with that being said, let's get straight into her build. For her artifact sets, Deepwood Memories is definitely her best in slot, as it helps her a lot with her damage since it decreases the enemy's dendro resistance. It also helps the team with damage. Just know that if another character is already running Deepwood, you can just mix and match different 2-piece sets like 2-piece Wanderer's Troop, 2-piece Gilded, and 2-piece Deepwood. Mix and match whichever 2-piece set you prefer, but 4-piece Deepwood is what I would recommend. Her stats are pretty simple. For her Sands, go Elemental Mastery. For her Goblet, you can either go Dendro damage bonus or EM, and for her Circlet, you can go EM or any crit that you need. These are all viable, and you can go with whichever you like. To find out which is better, EM or crit, highly depends on if your Nahida is acting as an on-field DPS or an off-field support. They're very similar in terms of helping your Nahida until she reaches 1000 EM. This amount of EM can be from her passive, weapon, or artifact set, but up until you reach this 1000 EM, crit and elemental mastery are both as strong as each other. This is because your first 1000 elemental mastery will turn into damage bonus and crit, and EM is also a good stat to do more reaction damage. Just know that crit, EM, and dendro damage bonus are very useful for Nahida, and she can use all of them, although what I use personally is triple EM. Now for the weapon side of things. Nahida has a lot of really good free-to-play options. For a lot of these weapons, you don't even need to look at the base attack that they give you, since she scales off EM and crit. This is not to say that attack is completely useless on her, it's just not what you're looking for at all. But let's go down. We're not starting off with the 5-star options or the 4 stars, we're starting off with the 3 stars, like Magic Guide. It's a pretty solid option as it has EM as a main stat, and its passive can be pretty helpful if you have a Hydro or Electro character in your team, and also if you can keep up with its effects. Mappa Mirror is also a pretty good option. This is because it gives EM as a main stat which Nahida wants, and it can give an elemental damage bonus increase to Nahida. The only flaws with this is that you have to trigger an elemental reaction to get this damage increase, and to be honest, it's not even that much, but it's still good. Sacrificial Fragments gives a ton of EM. This can be really helpful if you're trying to reach that 1000 EM goal. Lastly, the Woodsmith is an insane weapon to use on Nahida since it gives a bunch of crit damage as a main stat. It also gives either attack percent, elemental damage bonus, or elemental mastery. Solar Pearl and Prototype Amber exist, but why use them when Sacrificial Fragments and the Woodsmith are available? Sacrificial Fragments is the go-to F2P weapon for a support Nahida, and it can also be pretty good for an on-field DPS Nahida. But for the on-field role, I would recommend the Woodsmith. She has other 5-star options which typically wouldn't be used over these 4-star weapons, except what changes is if you're talking about her signature. This weapon is best in slot for her on-field or off-field. It doesn't really matter. Kagura's Verity is also another good 5-star option for Nahida. It's about as good as her signature on-field, but it's worse off-field. But for me personally, I wouldn't recommend pulling for any of these weapons, as she has pretty good 4-stars. But you can go for her signature if you have the Primo Gems, unlike me. But now for her teams. You can basically use her in any dendro-related team. You can use her in a Kitching Aggravate or an Aggravate team in general, a Nilu Bloom or a Bloom team in general, any of the 3000 different Hyper Bloom teams, an Alhaitham Spread or Quick Bloom team, a Burgeon team. You can just run her in any dendro-related team. This makes it look like I'm talking about the strongest Archon in the game, even if we all know it's Raiden. But that's just because she has so many team options and is because she's a very flexible character. But that's all I have to say about Nahida. If you enjoyed the video, why not help me out by liking, subscribing, and joining my Discord? It's super fun over there, and if you want to be a part of my community, I would highly recommend you join. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.